Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another one of my chemistry tutor videos. Today we will be looking at limiting reactants and excess reactants and how to find both of them and how to figure out how much of an excess reactant you have left. So we have the equation between magnesium and oxygen, which will yield magnesium oxide, and we have to first balance the equation. So you see that we have two oxygens over here, so we have to make two over here, so we put a 2 in front. And then we have two magnesiums over here and two oxygens, so the oxygens match, so we have to put a 2 here. Two magnesiums on this side, and 2 on this side, two oxygens on this side, and two oxygens on this side. So we are balanced now, so we can continue with the stoichiometry portion of it. So for this equation, we're going to say that we have 3 grams of magnesium and 2 grams of oxygen. And first, what we have to do is we have to convert both of these into magnesium oxide so that we can see how much magnesium oxide it makes for both of them. So first off, we're going to start with magnesium here. So we start off with 3 grams of magnesium. It's like the previous stoichiometry. We find out how many grams each mole of magnesium weighs. And if we look on here, 24.305. So we put 24.305 grams of magnesium, and you don't have to label it with the magnesium, but it makes it easier, and it's an easy way to show exactly what I'm doing. And that's over 1 mole of magnesium. And then we look up here for the mole to mole conversion up here. So we're converting 2 moles of magnesium into 2 moles of magnesium oxide. So that part is pretty simple. You're just doing 2 moles of magnesium, 2 moles of magnesium oxide. And then we have to convert from moles of magnesium to to grams of magnesium oxide. So we have 1 mole of magnesium oxide, and that will be, we have to find how much 1 mole of this weighs. So we have magnesium, which is 24.305, and we add that to the oxygen, which is 15.999. Don't round that up to 16, just leave it at 15.999. We add those up, and we get 40.304 grams of magnesium oxide. And then calculate it all the way through. Do the grams of magnesium divided by these grams, multiplied by 2 over 2, which is 1, and then multiply that by the 40.304 right here, and you get 4.975 grams of magnesium oxide. So now we know how many grams magnesium will make. Now we have to figure out how many grams oxygen will make in this equation. So we basically just do the exact same thing again. We have 2 grams of oxygen from up here. Multiply it. 1 mole. And because there are 2 oxygens in this, we have to multiply whatever oxygen weighs, which is 15.999. Multiply that by 2, and we get 31.988 grams of oxygen. And again, multiply it both in moles here, but with this one, we put oxygen on the bottom, same as last time, and then 2 moles of magnesium oxide, and there's only 1 mole up here, and 2 for that, so that's where you get that from. And then we have to figure out how much the MgO is per mole, but we already have it up here, so you can just use this one. Much easier than having to calculate it again. MgO. And that's over 1 mole magnesium oxide. And then you just calculate it out again, and you get 5.038 grams of magnesium oxide. Now you might be asking, well, what does this mean? Basically, this is how much if you had an unlimited supply of oxygen, this is how much 3 grams of magnesium would make. If you had an unlimited supply of magnesium, this is how much 2 grams of oxygen would make. So you make less with the magnesium. So this would be considered your limiting reactant. You just put a little LR so you know that it's the limiting reactant. And then that would mean that the oxygen is the excess reactant, which you put an ER so you know that it's the excess reactant. Now we have to calculate, well, you don't have to, but many times teachers will ask on tests and quizzes and such how much of the excess reactant is left. So basically what you do have to do for that is you have to find out how much of this would be left based on how much you used here. So it's pretty simple to find how much magnesium would be left, or magnesium oxide, but then you have to convert it to the original of whatever. In this case it would be oxygen here. So you do 5.038, and again I'm getting it from up here, and then we go minus 4.975, calculate it out, and you get 0.063 grams of magnesium oxide. That's how much magnesium oxide is left over when you do this chemical reaction. And then pretty simple, it's the same thing as up here. You have to convert the magnesium oxide back into oxygen to figure out how much oxygen would be left. So we have 0.063 grams of magnesium oxide. We would multiply that by 40.304 grams of magnesium oxide, and again I'm getting that from up here, or you can, if you really want to, you can calculate it again by adding those two up, and then that would be over 1 mole of magnesium oxide. And then again, mole to mole ratio, except this time it's flipped, so magnesium go on the top, or no, go on the bottom. Sorry about that. Mole of magnesium oxide over, oh no wait, that'd be 2 moles of magnesium oxide from up here. Then 1 mole of oxygen. And then we have to do it 1 mole of oxygen, and then you can, again, use this value right here. You can look up here and see what it is, or you can calculate it again by multiplying that times 2. And it comes out to be 31.988 grams. And then do that all the way through, divide that by 40.304, divide that by 1 over 2, which would be 1/2, and multiply it by the 31.988 grams, and you come up with a total of 0.025 grams of O2. What this is saying is that once this reaction is already done up here, once this reaction is done and you have these exact values, you will have made 4.975 grams of magnesium oxide, and you will still have 0.025 grams of oxygen left. So that is excess and limiting reactants. It's pretty simple stuff. You just have to make sure you do both the excess and limiting reactants so that you know which one is which. Because if you only do one, you're not sure if that's the excess or limiting. So yeah, feel free to check out my other videos on the more basic stuff. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, leave them in the comment section below, and I will hopefully be able to answer them for you. Have a good day and take care.